housing market. Get the latest insights right here.
Hi, and welcome back to Indy Housing Market. I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker. And you'll notice Kyle is out and about doing his normal things of selling real estate. So we have Jeff Mathey here with us today. He's on our team and also my son-in-law. But thank you for joining us, Jeff.
No problem.
Well, we just wanted to have you along so we can help ask questions. So we have Wayne Grabman here, and he is, and I have to read the card, the commercial industrial appraiser for Hamilton County, working with the assessor's office. So thank you.
Thank
you so much for joining us. This conversation with him started when I was talking to him a little bit about some rentals that I was dealing with. And Jeff has a property management company here as well, and he, deals with rentals a lot. And you just started talking about things that honestly I didn't even know existed with the the assessor's office. So I thought it would be a great thing for people to start to learn. So introduce yourself and just kind of tell us what your capacity is in Hamilton County.
Yeah, so I'm Wayne Grabman, as you said, commercial industrial appraisal manager for Hamilton County Assessor's Office. I'm not the elected official. That's my boss, Kevin Poor. So I do mostly like office buildings, industrial buildings, things like that. And we have my director who handles like apartments, golf courses, and some other stuff. And then we have another gentleman, my director's Terry. We have another gentleman named Darren. He does like retail strips and retail standalones and smaller offices and things like that. So depending on what your needs are, you come to us and we'll figure out who gets what. And then I also do all the rentals in Hamilton County. So the reason the rentals are with the commercial department is because they are considered income producing properties. So that's why I get those. Just like an office building is an income producing property based on the rents that they charge everybody. It's no different than rental houses. Same thing, they're charging rent to people. It's just the way they get assessed is different.
Yeah, so a rental property is assessed differently than your own personal home.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that was just fascinating to me to find out that you have to do a deep dive and try and find out which houses are rentals if you really want to get it assessed properly. So how do you find out if it's a rental versus a person's actual primary home?
A lot of times they come in through an appeal. People appeal, obviously they're not happy with their value. They'll say it's a rental, so it should be worth less, and that's not always the case. Based on the fact that it's income producing property, we need to know what they're renting it for. Because there's a multiplier for each township in Hamilton County that we've developed, and rents, as long as their market rent goes, you multiply that by that multiplier, and then that tells us the value for the property as a rental. The market rent part is important because a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot of people, some people leave rents low for various reasons, whether it's family, friends, longtime tenant that they don't want to run off, so they keep the rent low. Well, it may not be a market rent any longer. So we will look at that and decide whether that needs to be moved up. If it does, we'll put it at the very bottom of the window for that size home, and then we'll run it by the multiplier and see what the value looks like.
So if a house, explain this better, if a house is valued at $300,000, that doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's going to be. I'm picking a number. If we think its value is $300,000, that doesn't mean that's how it will be assessed. If it's a rental, you're going to look at its value of the money coming in in the income producing part of it.
Right. So we got to find out what they're renting it for, and then that goes against the multiplier.
Does it make any difference if it's a short term or long term, like an Airbnb versus like a yearly 12-month rental?
I don't know yet, and that's a great question because I was just talking to someone in the office today. We actually got our very first one that someone intends on making it an Airbnb. So we're using this as an opportunity to start that research. We haven't needed to do that yet. Airbnb stuff is still somewhat new in the assessing field, and we don't have guidelines for it just yet from our larger areas that give us stuff, the IAAO, the International Assessing Officers and stuff like that. So they help develop guidelines, and then that gets passed down through the state, and then the state helps develop guidelines, and so they give it out all to us, and then we go from there. So they don't really have anything for Airbnb, so it's new to us, so we're going to start figuring that out. And I was just talking to someone today, and I said, let's look at it as if it was a typical rental, because we can do the research and find out what it would look like in the market as a rental. So we'll do that, and we'll run that analysis, and then we'll do our research on Airbnbs for that particular township, and we'll figure out what those look like. And then we'll figure out how we essentially either blend those together or use them, side by side or an average or something. I don't know that yet because I don't know what that research and data is going to look like on the Airbnb side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have a client that lives in their house full time, but they also rent it out when they're away for work, like a week at a time. Would that change it, or would that still be homestead because they live there?
So your homestead, and I won't over talk that because that's the auditor thing, and I don't want to speak for the auditor's office, but I know to have your homestead, it has to be your primary residence for 51% of the year. So you have to be there a majority of the time. If it's less than that, then you wouldn't get your homestead.
So you're looking for what these properties are being used as. I was asking you earlier, is the way for you to find that is, you just have to start doing some research, right? And is it beneficial for somebody who's purchasing a property and it's going to become a rental to let you know it's a rental? Is that going to help them financially, maybe on the taxes, over just not telling you? Or is it illegal not to tell you?
No. But unfortunately, it's not illegal to lie to the assessor. So, people do it all the time, believe it or not. But I would say more times than not, people are honest with us. I'm not, pointing the finger at everybody like that. But and it's kind of a crapshoot, really. 50% of the time you're going to get a savings, and then the other 50% you're probably not going to get a savings. So it all depends on what you're renting it for or what the market's calling for, and then whatever that multiplier is by that township. So each township has its own multiplier, and that's developed by the known rentals, that's important, known, because we don't know all of them. That's why it's done by township and not by neighborhood. So if we knew every single one of them, we could probably stratify that by neighborhood, but we don't. So we do it by township. That way everyone is still done the same, and that essentially keeps it fair and equitable because it's consistently done through the whole county that way. So.
But if somebody had a question, which would be the better route, should they call you and tell you I have a rental and have them look at your numbers to see what they are? Interesting. So if you have a rental.
Because even if we look at it, they call me and they say, hey, I'm going to have a rental property. What's it going to look like? If I do the rental calc and it comes out and it's, $100,000 higher than what I have it currently assessed for because it would be income producing, I'm not just going to raise it $100,000 on them. But we may keep an eye on it year after year. They're still renting it. So we may, in small increments, we're going to start catching up to what that value is. We're just not going to hit them all at once. We just don't do that.
You probably don't want them all walking and yelling at you because you did.
Right.
keeps it safer in the building.
Rents would be insane then.
Yeah.
So
it's just more appeals.
Yeah. So, and does the appeal process work when people do that? Do they ever win?
They do about 30% of the time on rentals. I get about 70% of my rental appeals withdrawn simply because they don't get a reduction in value. But they don't know that either until they file.
Right.
I got one representative who last year filed 1,100 rental appeals. He withdrew a great large number of those pretty quickly, so that was pretty nice. So that shortened things up a lot. And then this year, he was a little more proactive and reached out to me ahead of time and said, hey, what are your GRM factors, which is the gross rent multiplier? That's the multiplier I mentioned earlier. What are those per your townships? And I'll go over that with my information and see what I can file on. And, not hit you as hard with all the filings that I did the year before.
He had at least 1,100 rentals in Hamilton County.
Yeah. He has clients who have the rentals.
Gotcha.
So like the larger rental companies, not calling anybody out, but some of those companies have, hundreds of rentals themselves. Well, they're clients of his. So he helps them out and looks over their properties and so forth. So. And we got a couple big tax rep companies like that, like his and another one. And they do that, and they file hundreds and hundreds of rental appeals. Excuse me. They file hundreds of rental appeals. So it's a lot of work, but
Sounds like a lot of paperwork.
it is a lot of paperwork.
You might save some money, though, right? So that's the whole reason of doing it. So getting to the rental situation, we know that Carmel and Fisher started their rental law of not being able to just have the rentals. You had to actually register. So I know when we were talking earlier, you were saying, you're trying to find them. You can go through MyBor and see if they've been listed that way. And I know we're losing this situation in 2028
Right.
with the law actually going back and being rescinded. But right now, are the cities helping you, giving you that information, or
So
because you sound like you were having to dig, but that information
We're
is with
still
the
digging.
cities? Yeah,
But-
because the cities have it.
right, and so it's new for them, and I'm not sure how they're tracking it yet. My boss, Kevin, has reached out to Carmel and Fishers to, get that ball rolling on hopefully sharing that information with us. I think they will. I don't see why they wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
I just don't know where that stands yet. We've been doing a lot of other things at the office right now, so Kevin will get back with them at some point, and we'll go from there. And then, I'm sure I'll get that list, and then I'll cross-check it with everything I already have, and go from there.
Yeah, because it's already being done for you. For you to have to sit in the other room and do it too
Yeah.
seems kind of
And I
silly.
don't know how much they're actually getting. Not everybody follows the rules, so
Yeah.
we'll see. Hopefully, most people are.
Well, I know on my rentals, they've been extremely diligent, extremely on
Good.
me. And I had one that was not a rental. We were flipping it, and it had been a rental. And I got a fine notice for not registering the house, but it wasn't a rental. So I know they're learning and trying to figure it out. But I think they're extremely diligent on what they're trying to
Yeah.
find. A little overkill, but they came after me immediately on a house that I could not prove I wasn't renting it. It was very difficult.
Yeah. Well,
so-
we'll be able to kind of follow up with them a little better because we have a new property system we just got put in, and in this new system, we can actually checkbox whether it's a rental or not, and then we could run a report for all of those. So we could easily do our report, look at their report, and cross-check that.
Yeah.
And then if they're missing something, they'd see it on ours, and vice versa. So we'll be able to help each other out quite a bit.
Will that new system show up on the public side? Like if we look at the county GIS or anything?
I'm not sure if it's actually on the property record card. Like when you look those up, I'll have to double check that. I know it's on the screen that I'm working in, but not everything I see is what the public sees. So
Because we always get questions, first time home buyers or whatever, was this house rented before?
yeah,
I can usually find it pretty well off most of the time.
yeah,
Yeah, go back through MyBor or something.
My
but-
or Zillow, or if you type in the address, usually on Zillow, you can write rent or whatever like
Yeah.
that, and it'll show if it ever rented.
Yeah, it's funny. Buyers don't want to have houses that have been rented before.
I know. It
A
seems
lot.
like it's a black
Little
mark or something on it.
Little stigma.
Yeah. The record cards are new now, so we're kind of learning what they look like and where everything is on it compared to our old record cards. So I'll have to take a good look at that and see if it's on there somewhere.
Well, by the time you and the cities get together on it, it'll be over, and you back to
I know.
the other
We'll be
one.
at 28 and won't have to collect it.
Yeah. So
I'll still have to collect it, but
one of the things for us is trying to sell properties is not knowing if the cities have hit the cap yet, and not having that registry that we can go to or anywhere. Maybe it does exist, probably something we could reach out to the cities and find out, but I don't think we've hit 10% on either one of the cities.
right.
But then we always deal with the HOAs as well, who also have their rules. So the HOA may be at their cap, but the city's not. So realtors really need to be very careful of, oh, the city's not at 10%, we're good, because a lot of HOAs have already put that into place. But I don't know if we're getting any type of a notification through MyBar or anything. It's just something that's kind of still being worked out, as well as being told.
Right.
I think it'll be very well known. I think something will be put out in the current Carmel Current or something that we've just hit our 10%.
I'm sure that'll go through every office around here,
Yeah,
real estate
yeah.
wise.
So it'll be interesting to see if it all comes to play. But that MyBor had a really big part of through the RPAC, Realtors Political Action Committee, who strongly was against it from the very beginning. We had many people speaking at both city councils for the city of Carmel and the city of Fishers to not allow that due to property right violations, is what they felt. So then RPAC put together their constant in front of the city and the state to fight it, and MyBar had a huge part of getting that repealed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for agents, if you do know what RPAC is and you do donate from some of your sales or just throughout the year, do know that they are very much out there fighting for us. And one of the things, Jeff, this is what I learned. I was just in New York City. This is just a side note, but RPAC, what they fight for, and they're fighting very hard not to have sales tax on the commission, and that keeps coming up in the state. So one of the things that they're trying very hard is to get commissions taxed. And here we're like, no, that's just not right. New York City commissions are taxed. So New York State, I should say.
Double taxed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they get taxed.
Taxed on getting it, taxed
Yeah.
on at the
Yeah.
end of the year and
Yeah.
everything.
So agents donate to RPAC. That's all I have to say.
Is that tax write-off
The tax, is that a write-off?
for New York?
I don't know. I just was shocked when I heard that. So probably the other states have it. So again, realtors, it's possibly coming and you don't want it to.
You could make a whole nother show just talking about
The political
those
stuff.
taxes and stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about taxes, aren't we?
Those taxes, mine are different.
So how did you get involved in doing this? What's your background?
Well, I've been an assessor appraiser for 28 years. So I worked in Marion County for about 19 years, just over that. Then I was on the outside for just over 4 years, and then I've been with Hamilton County for about 3.5 now. So,
How does Marion County compare to Hamilton County?
it's not bad. It's a little different.
Yeah.
I still got a lot of friends in Marion County, so.
No, I just
But
have. I mean, we hear different things between all the counties. I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, like when we don't live in Europe, where countries are right across, our state lines could be. So counties here in Indiana are so different as well, how they do all their stuff. So
yeah, and so part of that is the DLGF, the Department of Local Government Finance, who is kind of our parent, if you will. They have a director of assessments for the state, and so they oversee what all the counties are doing. But they give a lot of flexibility, I guess, to each county. As long as you're staying within your guidelines and following the rules, you have a lot of flexibility to do what you want to do if you're within that. And there are some counties that are just so much smaller than us that, they have maybe 2, maybe 3 employees in their assessor's office, and so they have a vendor that does all the work for them. So it's a lot different. Like Hamilton County, we don't have a vendor that does all the work for us. The only vendor we really have is our property system vendor. So, and then there's vendors for other things, the other auditors, office trustees, stuff like that. But we're pretty much do everything ourselves. And Marion County is the same way. They do everything themselves.
how many employed with the assessor's office in Hamilton County?
I think we're 40, give or take.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. Maybe
Wow.
upper 30s. Yeah.
It's a pretty good size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of people. I'm going to ask this question because it is something, and we have a lot of new agents that listen to it. What's the difference between the assessor and the auditor?
The auditor does not do your property tax assessment. The assessor does. So the auditor, again, not to speak on what they do, but they handle like all your exemptions, things like that. So if you buy a house and you need to do your homestead, you want to go to the auditor's office, make sure you got your homestead on there. If you're worried about your assessment and because your assessment eventually is going to be what they're calculating your tax bill off of. So if you're worried about that, come to my office and talk to me. I say my office, it's Kevin's office. Come to where I work. If you're in Hamilton County, if you're not, go to your local assessor's office. I always tell people that go to your local assessor's office. Don't believe the stuff you see on social media a lot because there's a lot of inaccuracies out there. There's a recent one that's been going around lately, and it's full of inaccuracies.
What's that?
It's just
Tell us the scoop.
Well, it's pretty lengthy,
What's
and
the
I
tea?
don't even know who created it first. I saw some of my friends actually
Sidebar,
share
this is
it.
not right. This is not
Yeah.
real. He's going to tell us what's going on that's not
I
right.
saw some of my friends reposting it, and I reached out to them. I was like, take
Stop.
that off your page. Don't repost that stuff on social media.
Saying about what the assessor or what?
What the assessor did was literally calling out the assessors, and then saying that they do this and they do that. For example, the sales chasing thing we were talking about earlier. We cannot sales chase.
Yeah, let's talk
Can you
about
explain what
that.
that is so
Yeah.
everyone knows?
Yeah, let's talk. That's interesting because I think in real estate we kind of believe that once it sells, that's going to be the new assessed value.
Right, and that's not accurate. So once it sells, that sale goes into a ratio study. So the ratio study creates what's called a trending factor, and then that trending factor is applied to every home in that neighborhood, so everyone will take the same percent increase or decrease. So if you buy a home and it's assessed at $250,000, but you buy it for $400,000, they're not going to take and jump your $250 to $400. They're going to look at it and see, why are we so much lower? Did we miss something? It's kind of raises a red flag for us. Make sure we didn't miss something. Maybe there's a pool there we didn't know was there, so things like that. But then it's going to be still lumped into the ratio study. So whatever the ratio study is telling us, and not every home is going to sell the same in a whole neighborhood, as you guys know. So it just depends on what's taking place with that. But we may gradually start working our way up, like I mentioned with that the rental case, trying to eventually get up to what the rental income would tell us it is. They'll do the same within the neighborhood for your home. So if you were way low for whatever reason, it's probably going to change eventually and slowly start to inch up. I'm not sure how quickly it would get to what you sold it for. You may turn around and sell it again, and you're gone in 4 years, so you never know. But
so there isn't a massive jump in 1 year. You do control that a little bit.
We do control
after
that, yeah.
But you
so
just
every 4 years, if you add something like a pool or like a deck or outbuilding of some sort, you can expect it to
if
get
it gets
caught in 4
found,
years.
though, right? How do you find out that somebody put a pool in?
So we get
permits.
We get permits for everything. And, I mean, occasionally a permit will slip through the cracks. It happens. Everybody's human. But we'll get permits for everything, and that prompts us to go out and look at it. So then we go out and do field inspections and things like that. So then we'll pick up your information and put it on the record, and there you go.
So a pool adds an assessed value,
Mm-hmm.
and a deck.
Mm-hmm.
Basically anything that disturbs the grass, kind of, right?
No.
Is that
So on residential, we do not pick up driveways. So you can have a nice concrete driveway, large, small, whatever. It's not part of your assessment. The sidewalk that's out there is not part of your assessment. But like your decks are, your concrete patios, porches, things like that, all of those are. Your little utility shed you got in your backyard is part of it,
A
unfortunately.
little shed.
Yeah.
What about a play set?
No, those are not part of it. So you can have a really nice
Removable?
play set for your kids, and we don't pick that up. So
Because you didn't have to have a permit for it.
not likely.
Had to get HOA approval.
That's different.
That's different. So you said something that I want to go back and try and understand. You said, let's just say we have a house of 60 homes. They hardly ever sell. So all these homes in the 60 neighborhood of these homes are they've never sold. 3 sell in 1 year. Just for some reason, there's 3 all of a sudden. And they all sold at 50% more than what's seeing the value of all the houses that have been sitting here. Because you said once that house sells, you're going to go back and reevaluate the whole neighborhood. So if 3 houses, let's just say my example, sell, that could affect the entire neighborhood?
No. So,
Okay.
When one house sells, a neighborhood does not prompt a reevaluation of the whole neighborhood. So every year they're reevaluating. It's annual trending. That's what they call that. So every year they're looking at it and they're doing a ratio study. Now the ratio study has to have 5 or more properties in it. So if you have a neighborhood like the example you gave that only has 3, they cannot do a ratio study off of just 3 properties and change your trending factor, good or bad. They can't do it off of that. Now they could take that and look at neighboring neighborhoods that have similar to like properties in it. And then if they have enough sales to do that, they can do a ratio for all of that together. And then maybe there's a change, whether it goes up or down. But if they don't have anything and they just can't do a ratio study for it, that trending factor is likely just going to roll forward and be the same factor you had the year before. So in that case, you're probably not seeing much of an increase, aside from referendums or anything. So.
And you did mention before that referendums aren't calculated into the assessed value with the tax bill.
Right. So the referendums is not part of the assessed value. Referendums are completely separate. Assessment, you're taxed on your assessment by a 1%, 2%, or 3% cap. So it depends on the type of property you have. Your primary residence, if you have your homestead on it, then that's 1%. If you got a rental property, it's 2%. If you're a commercial industrial, it's 3%. So if you have a referendum in that area, such as a school referendum, they wanted a new gym, so they're going to build a new gym. So that referendum is after all of that. So that could bump you above your percent. So maybe you got a 1% house, but you're paying 1.5%. Well, it's because of that referendum.
How long does a referendum stay on?
However long they passed it for.
Okay.
They vary. So, however long they think they need to pay for that. So,
Right.
yeah.
However long they want to.
Yeah. Kind of like abatements and TIFs and things like that. So
Yeah.
those all play roles too, and it's just a way to finance stuff.
So what makes a residential company or property become commercial? What would change it over to a commercial property?
So if you have a residential home and you move out of it, essentially a family moves out of it and a business moves into it. it's still assessed as a residential home as long as it's structurally still a residential home. Meaning, if the business moves in and they don't take out the walls or anything like that, and they're just using the different bedrooms as offices and things like that, and they could literally move out and a family could move right back in and there's no structural change to it, there's no need to change the building assessment from a residential dwelling to a commercial building. Now, if they come in and they change all that and it's structurally not going to be, physically a home anymore, things are much different. So they've changed those bedrooms. There's no more closets. Maybe they blocked off some windows. Things just aren't the same. Then we could change that to a commercial building.
And that, to me, seems like what we would be seeing on Rangeline Road.
Yeah, we do see some of that on Rangeline. A lot of those homes haven't structurally changed a lot. So they're still assessed like a home, but we've got them noted as businesses, and so we keep up with them.
So this is interesting, if the commercial business currently in that property moves out and it's still a home inside, it should be assessed as a residential property.
It's still done as a residential home, yeah.
But it may not be the 1%, it may be 2%?
It would be 3% because it's a commercial entity.
Even if it's still...
It's just the dwelling, the way it's picked up, the way it physically was assessed.
Oh, okay.
Is still done as a home. So it's still a dwelling. They just don't get the 1% because they can't have a homestead.
So it wouldn't go down to 2% if we go to the 3%?
It goes 3% because it's commercial.
I'm so glad I don't have your job. That's a lot.
That sounds tricky, especially if it's like someone lives upstairs and uses the bottom.
Yeah, that could be different. They can actually separate piece of that. Like they can say, well, 25% of it is my primary residence and I use 75% of it to my business. So the homestead might play a role in that. That would be something the auditor would decide because they handle that part of it. So
The auditor.
you may be able to get a percentage of that.
I've seen some properties do that where they have like the acre around their house as the homestead, and then they kept like the 6 acres surrounding that as like an agricultural and change that.
Yeah.
All kinds. So anything else that you want to make sure that we get some information out there? That I
As
didn't
far
ask
as like
the right
rentals
questions?
go, yeah. Back to the rental things, because there's a lot of misconceptions on how they're picked up and assessed. For example, I just had one recently that we just settled, and the gentleman thought that it had to go through all 3 methods of assessment, and then you had to take the lowest one. So that only applies to apartments. So apartments have to be assessed on the cost, sales, and income method, and then whichever's lower, that's the value. That is not the case for a rental. Obviously, we talked about that. They're done off the GRM or the gross rent multiplier. And the way that multiplier is found, which people don't always understand how that's done, we create a large data set per township, and that data set consists of rental homes that have sold over the last 3 years. So we've got their sale, we've got their rent, and we may have 15 or 20 of them in one data set. We may have 80 of them in a data set. Depends on the township. Some larger townships have more that we can gather. So, and you average all of that stuff together, and then the calc from the sale to the rent gives us a GRM, and then we run all those GRMs down for an average, and then that tells us what that township looks like. So I think Carmel's 152. So do the math. If you got a home you're renting for $3,000 times 152, that's what your value is going to look like. If your assessment is already under that, you probably shouldn't file an appeal. You're not going to win anything. If your assessment is above that, file an appeal and talk to me about it, and there's a good chance that it's going to get lowered.
So you just said that. So if I come in to do an appeal and you say, oh, you're wrong, you're actually higher, do you now do that just because the appeal process happened and you found the information you needed to go higher? Or do you just kind of...
So would I raise their value up to that?
Yeah, because of the appeal. Could you cause yourself to have that happen?
No takesy backsies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... No, we don't typically do that. If
just kind of like, you need to go home now.
Yeah, I will always tell somebody I recommend that you withdraw the appeal.
Okay.
Because if you fight it and we go to the board, I'm probably going to ask the board for the increase.
Okay.
So I will tell them to withdraw it, and I'll explain what I'm going to do. Like, this is what I'm going to do. If we go to the board and you're trying to fight it, I know what my evidence is, and I know what you aren't going to be able to find on evidence. it's what I do for a living, and it's not what you do for a living. I am going to beat you at the board. And I'm not just saying that because I can be. I just know the evidence is
You're
strong.
actually being nice.
I am, and I'm giving them the opportunity to walk away,
Yeah,
essentially.
go home.
Withdraw the appeal, and then we'll leave it at is, and it will continue to trend with your neighborhood. And if it's too big of a difference, we're going to make note of that and then slowly do that thing where I was talking about over the years. We'll slowly creep up a little closer. But if you win your appeal and it lowers, you will still trend with your neighborhood. You're just going to trend off of the value that you won and not that higher value. So.
One of the things you're talking about in doing that with the appeal is, I know in Brown County, we do sell a lot of properties at Sweetwater and Cordery, and they would appeal. They're all the time down there. All they needed in Brown County was a real estate agent to do some comps and hand it to them, and that would work. In Hamilton County, is it okay for a real estate agent to say, here's the comps, take these in for appeal, or do you need an actual appraisal?
No, I mean, if someone came to you and said, hey, I'm going to appeal my property, as long as they're the one doing the appeal, you can look up whatever you want for them if you want to do it and give them some comps and go, here, good luck. You're not an actual tax representative, so you can't represent them. Now, that said, if your buddy down the street calls and says, hey, sit with me, I'm talking to the assessor, I'm trying to appeal my property, you can sit there with him and talk.
That's what I
as
had to
long
do.
as he's right there in the room.
Yeah, I
because
had to
then
do
he can
that.
stop you at any time. But you can't on your own represent
Right.
him because you're not a legal tax representative, property tax representative. So
But you will use our market analysis that we could provide.
we'll review it.
Read
Yeah.
it.
Doesn't mean I'm going to use
Take it
it.
into
Well,
consideration.
You'll
Yes.
take that into consideration. The person does not have to actually call an appraiser to get
They
at least
do
get the
not.
process started.
Right. They do not have to actually spend the money on an appraiser. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's what we get paid for, right? So anyway, good
Yeah.
good information to know, people, if they are looking to do that we actually can help as real estate
Yeah, you
agents
could-
to at
yeah,
least start that
you could help to
process
a
for
point,
them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Nothing else that you want to make sure the world knows?
As far as assessments goes, I could talk for hours on it. So there's a lot. We've only touched on a small
I know.
part of it.
I know.
Yeah, there's a whole lot that we do at the assessor's office that a lot of people don't understand.
What's something else you think would be good to know that you don't, that they don't know you do? Something that you always are amazed people have no idea that you do.
Always amazed that I have no idea. We draft our properties. I don't think a lot of people know that we're not draftsmen, but I mean, I have some skill in it because I went to school for it. But like on our property system, we have to draw the house out. Like when you get your record
yeah, the
card,
little-
you see
the
sketch on
property
there.
card, you drew that?
We do those. So you've got to know something about, drafting in a small aspect in order to do that. So I don't think a lot of people realize that, most of us in the office and all the field guys and everybody from residential to commercial know how to do that. Some of the people who don't go out in the field that help, some of our coordinators and things like that, they know how to do it. So they can help the other field people and the other managers. So.
When you draft that, where did you get those dimensions?
Yeah, I was wondering, do you go out for that, do it over satellite, or?
So we do it by combination of the plans and going out in the field.
And the plans came from the city, from the original permit?
Yeah, we have access to all but Westfield because they're not online like everybody else. They have them, so they send them to us. So it's a little different. They're just not set up the same way. Like I could go on the computer now and look up stuff and pull it from everybody else, except the smaller ones like Adams. I can't just pull stuff off of that from Sheridan stuff. I usually have to go to Sheridan's office and get that information, which they're great. I think I've been into Sheridan and Cicero and I think just those two, and they'll have them right there, and they're like, here. And one of them, I forget which one it was, said, take it back to your office, bring it back when you're done. So, I mean, they were real nice about
That
it.
sounds so old-fashioned.
It's very old-fashioned, but, as long as they're working with us, it doesn't hurt. And one of them, I just sat there kind of in their lobby and went over what I needed to look at. I gave it back to them, spent 40 minutes in there and handled my business for it. So
I have a feeling the most busy town that you're drawing right now is Westfield.
Westfield's very busy. Yeah, Westfield is very busy. Every one of them are like, for me, like I said, aside from the rentals, I do a lot of commercial industrial. So Westfield, Carmel, and Carmel are definitely the busiest. Fishers would probably fall in line next, and then Noblesville, and then the outliers above us. Those 3 townships up there, they don't get quite as much.
65% of the houses on the market in Westfield are brand new.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I mean, like you said, we could go on and on and on. I just think, at least touching on a little bit of this and that. But if we'll give your information out at the end so they can get a hold of you if they have more questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just want to do the stats real quick. And we have a huge change in Carmel. So 66 houses hit the market in Carmel last week, in the last 7 days. 30 of those pended and a total of 45 pended. So those 66 was up 16 from last week, and then last week before that was 9. So Carmel is trending with a lot of inventory, but it is immediately selling pretty quickly. The average days on market for the past 7 days in Carmel was a 27. Median is 4. That median of 4 has stayed like that for weeks now. And the part that is if you and I, we're going out showing houses, we're seeing these houses in, at least the first or second day, they're still active, because they're calling for offers. So one of the things that people don't understand is like, well, it didn't sell immediately. A 4-day or a 5-day means it sold immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at average days on our median days on market right now of 4 in Carmel, and the average for the past 30 days was 5. So that means these houses are selling immediately when you go on the market, and you need to call as agents and ask if they have an offer and find out what the rules are. We are back to 21 and 22. Have you noticed that? I mean,
it's been a little busy.
It's been busy and crazy, and people just really need to know that those houses, you have to get out there and see them again. It's all back. Currently, there's 182 active in Carmel. So the standing market is 78 average days on market and 35 median. So some houses just sitting probably have some price issues or something like that, because they should not be sitting looking at this. 100
price or condition.
Price condition, because looking at the ones that are selling, they're selling immediately. Solds in the past 30 days, 147. Average days on market 26 and 5. That's been the same for a good month. Fishers, 46 hit the market, 25 of them pended right away, so almost half. 37 total pended, and their average days on market in Fishers exactly the same as Carmel, 28 and 4. And currently 180 sitting on the market in Fishers with an average days of 58 and 33. There's 170 that sold in the past 30 days. Average days on market 28 and 7. So Fishers staying also about the same. You can look at it maybe 30 days, but if not, it's going to go that weekend. Westfield 51 hit the market. That was the same. The inventory didn't really jump up. 19 pended, but a total of 50 of the pending houses. So almost lost inventory there. So Westfield's average days on market are 47 and a median of 9, just a little bit longer. But we talked about that. That's the Westfield inventory of brand new homes. They sit longer. 225 currently on the market. Again, probably 65% of those are brand new. There's a total of 141 sold in the past 30 days with an average days of 45 on the market and 8 median. Noblesville is interesting. So 27 hit the market in Noblesville, 5 pended with a total of 29 pending, so we lost inventory. But for the past 7 days, the average days on market was 58 and the median was 23. So Noblesville slower by a month of sitting in the median. So that's interesting, and that slowed way down because in the past 30 days it was 35 and 12. So must have been, again, looking at the actives with those high 70 for Westfield is 178 currently active. 70 of them are 70's average. I think in Noblesville, I didn't get a chance to look at it really strongly. I think a lot of old inventory sold last week, to get that 58.
Or off the market, just taking them down.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So Noblesville was a little bit different. Zionsville 20 hit the market. 14 of those total pended, but 21 in the whole 7 days pended. So lost inventory in Zionsville. Their average days on market is 15 and the median is 3. When I see 3, I saw when I was doing the stats a lot of 0s and 1s.
Zionsville sells fast.
Zionsville with the 0s, it means they never hit the market. So that's, Zionsville, we say it all the time, if you have a house that you want to sell in Zionsville and you don't think it's the right time, it is. Actually, for anybody, it is. Not this weekend. I was going to put a house on the market this weekend. We were going to go live tomorrow, or it was Thursday, and I called him and I said, oh, you know what? I just realized
Memorial weekend.
this is Memorial Day weekend. This
Race
is the
weekend.
biggest holiday in Indianapolis we could absolutely have with the race. So we're delaying till next week. So it'll be interesting next week. We probably won't see a lot of houses list this weekend because nobody's doing anything but race stuff. The parade is Saturday, all that, So,
Carb days Friday.
Yeah, Carb Days Friday. It's a busy weekend, and if you live here, you're going to have some part of it. You're going to go to a friend's house, you're going to go to the track, you're going to do something, go to the parade, or just relax because it's a holiday weekend. So anyway.
All the pools for the neighborhoods are opening.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Thank you. I made the right decision, I think, not to list this weekend. So anyway, 50 of them sold in the past 30 days, average of 27 and 5. There's currently 67 sitting on the market in Zionsville, and that's the end of those. So, crazy market. If you know anybody that wants to buy or sell right now, you know who to call now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker, and you can call me at 317-201-2601.
I'm Jeff Mathey on Shelly's team. 317-558-9178. Jeff at ShellyWalters.com.
And Wayne Grabman with the Hamilton County Assessor's Office. If you live in Hamilton County, don't call me if you're in another county. But feel free to call me if you got questions on your assessment. If I can't answer, I'll direct you to the right person. 317-770-8867. Thanks.